I've seen such an interesting trend with men deciding to quit alcohol lately. But with most sexual encounters coming from nights out or first dates served with alcohol, what does this mean for the modern man looking to ditch alcohol for a more meaningful and purposeful life? As a sober person with almost 5 years experience, I'll share with you my comparisons with dealing with women when I was drinking and without drinking. I've also interviewed women from across the world to ask them their opinion on what they think about men who drink and take drugs. So you can get an insight on what they think. Whether you choose to believe them or not is completely up to you. But by the end of this video, you'll be able to come to your own conclusion whether or not sobriety is for you. So if you've clicked on this video, there's probably a good chance that you have thought about quitting alcohol, which probably means that you should, regardless of women or not. For those of you who are new to the channel, I've done some crazy things in my drinking career. They include going to prison twice for fighting on nights out. The warning signs for me were there early on, but I chose not to listen. I've made some videos on my past, so I won't get into that now. Now, when I was a drinker, I never had any problem meeting women. This can be a good and a bad thing. Now, I've never had any problems because I was always positioning myself in the places where alcohol was served and women were there. The perfect concoction. This can be a good and bad thing because I was always positioning myself in the right places, i.e. pubs, clubs, festivals, Ibiza. Plenty of girls around with the alcohol to go with it. How could you not, Paul? The problem with this is when you're drinking, your inhibition's lower and so do your standards. Towards the end of the night, you don't care who you go home with. This can be problematic in the long run. I hope they're watching, but I've had a few girlfriends in the past who probably should have ended at one night stands. I'm pretty sure that you have too. Truth be told, I could have saved myself a lot of hassle, time and money if it did. But more importantly, when you're entertaining the wrong women, that leaves no room for the right women, so just bear that in mind. I got sober at 30, I'm now 35, so I've had 5 years experience. 3 of them years are as a single sober guy. So what have I learned? The likelihood is when you quit drinking, you will level up, so you won't have time to go out and date girls that you have a low interest in. Think about it this way, if you're building a business, learning a skill, why would you want to go out in an environment where drink is served and you're going to end up staying up late just for the chance to take a girl home? It doesn't make sense. Truth be told, you're not going to find your future wife in the club. So what's the point? I remember in my newly sober days, I was living in Sydney, Australia. It was a summer's evening and I was in a great spot, Coogee Bay Hotel, down by the beach. If you've been to Australia, you'll know. I was out with my usual drinking friends and I was probably about 2 months into my sober career. It was coming up to 9 p.m. and naturally I was starting to get tired. So I had this great idea that I was going to start drinking Red Bulls just to stay awake and keep up. A very silly idea. But then a girl in red comes in. We immediately lock eyes. Eventually we get talking, but by this point I've had about 2 Cokes and 3 Red Bulls. So I'm completely wired. To be fair, she was pretty, but it wasn't someone I was necessarily interested in, but I ended up taking her home. The problem here is I took her home, but I couldn't get to sleep because I'd had too many stimulants. And to top it all off, I had to share a bed with her, so I just ended up having the worst night's sleep. Then in the morning, I had to drop her home. So overall, I might as well have just gone out and drank because when I woke up in the morning, I felt hungover, I'd had no sleep and my routine was completely destroyed. Shortly after that, I put a stop to these nights out simply because it wasn't worth it. Now this is a period where I started to see a drop off in sexual encounters. Now I don't want to put you off. This was simply due to working a lot on myself, building businesses and just avoiding venues where alcohol was served. So it's completely understandable. This is why it gets lonely in the middle, because you don't fit in with the people who you used to hang around with, and you're in this weird space where you're leveling yourself up and you don't fit in with the people who you want to be around. Now this goes for women and it goes for friendships. It is called the lonely chapter. Maybe you're not at that level yet where you can attract the sort of woman that you want into your life. This is a hard truth. And truth be told, I've had to deal with it myself. A few months ago, I went on a date with a famous singer. I met her in my sauna, in my gym in Bali, and I got talking to her. She seemed really nice, so I thought, right, I'm gonna get her number and ask her out on a date. Long story short, we end up going on a date to a restaurant. So we get talking and we're asking what each other do. I ask her what she does. Well, actually, she asked me what I did first. This was before I was a sobriety coach. She said, what do you used to do in the UK? And I told her I was an electrician. When I asked her what she did, she said, I'm a singer. And I thought, oh, that's cute. Didn't think anything of it. Probably at the moment where I told her that I used to be an electrician is the moment that she lost interest. And I don't blame her. She's a famous singer with millions of followers, with millions of pounds. Why would she be interested in someone like me? It's completely understandable. And if the tables are turned, I wouldn't be either. It's just the way life is. But if you can take a positive from this story, it is that if I was still drinking and taking drugs, I would have had no business being in that gym in Bali. And I probably wouldn't even had the confidence to go up to her, get her number and take her on a date. It's taken years of working on myself. Now I'm going to play you a quick clip of these Danish girls.
If you got in a relationship with someone and you found out 3 or 4 months down the line that they did cocaine, how would you feel about that?
Not quite happy, because they kept it a secret from me.
Yeah, I would feel a little bit betrayed.
Yeah.
Because they didn't tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the start.
Yeah.
Would you go out with someone who did drugs?
No.
You were done.
Yeah.
So if they told you straight off that they did cocaine, you wouldn't?
No.
Okay.
That's unattractive.
So do you drink?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah?
Sometimes.
How often would you say that you drink?
Like once a month.
Yeah.
Once a month, is that okay?
Not much.
So if you had a boyfriend that went out every single weekend and he just drunk loads and he just wasted his money, would you break up with him or would you give him time? Would you say maybe stop and slow down?
I think I would talk to him at first and maybe get him to, not drink so much. And then if it's kept on, I would maybe give him an ultimatum. It's me or...
Yeah.
What about your boyfriend now? Does he drink?
Yeah, but not a lot.
So what they're basically telling us here is they would prefer a man who's got his life in order and doesn't drink every single weekend. And as for drugs, it's a deal breaker. And quite simply, I wouldn't tolerate going out with a woman who did cocaine in a house party. It's not attractive. Now, although one does have a boyfriend and they do occasionally drink, for you, I would argue from my point of view, it is easier just to quit alcohol rather than to try and control it. It takes less mental energy. We've all been there when we've had 3 weeks off drinking, we've done really well, we've gone to the gym, we've done well in work, all our relationships improve, then we go out on that one weekend and we completely ruin and derail all the hard work that we've been doing. Now I'm going to play this other clip from these girls from the UK.
So if you went out with someone and they told you that they did do cocaine, that wouldn't be a deal breaker?
Probably not.
No, it wouldn't be.
Because we like to party as well. So,
You like to party, is
yeah.
it? Okay.
So
But if it was affecting their day-to-day life and they were spending all of their wages every weekend on it, that would be a deal breaker.
if it affects their health,
And their work.
their life in a bad way when the fun is not
Yeah,
fun
if they've
anymore.
gone on a whole weekend bender and then they're in a shit mood for the next 3 days,
Yeah,
and
and
that
that's
would be
all
a
they're
deal
waiting
Yeah,
for,
that would be
so.
a deal breaker. But if it was
just
once
fun.
in a blue moon, or at a festival or at an event, then I don't think that would be an issue.
Slightly different answer that we get here. Now, if you want to have short-term fun with women, then yes, going out drinking and taking drugs will be easier. However, by quitting alcohol and putting in the required work, you will have a much more secure and successful life. No more late nights, no more hangovers, no more anxiety, no more drama. And the best bit about this, you will just naturally attract the sort of women that you want into your life. But the problem is, nobody wants to sacrifice short-term fun for long-term gain. If you're prepared to take a short-term hit while you level up your game, you will get better results in the long run. Take Jeff Bezos, for example. Now, this is an extreme example, but the principles remain the same. Not the best looking of guy, but he's built a multi-billion-dollar company. He can pretty much have the choice of anyone when he wants, and he doesn't need to hit the club till 3 a.m. That being said, you can do anything to a woman but make her bored. So if you do decide to quit alcohol and get rid of the excitements of nights out, make sure you replace it with some interesting hobbies. My overall conclusion, dealing with women as a sober person is much better. You deal with less rubbish, and if you play your cards right, you'll attract a higher caliber woman. If you do want help quitting alcohol, I've left my 7-day sober course. Link is in description, 22 video models long. And please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.